The Gilded Cage. The flash of cameras was blinding, but Chloe Harrison had learned long ago to smile through the chaos. She stood before the marble facade of Maison Laurent's flagship store in Manhattan, her emerald gown catching the autumn sunlight like liquid fire. Today was supposed to be perfect, the official announcement of her as the face of their spring collection, a contract worth millions, and the kind of prestige that transformed models into icons. Chloe, over here. Miss Harrison, how does it feel to be the youngest ambassador in Maison Laurent's history? She tilted her head just so, the angle she'd perfected over countless shoots, and let her smile widen. It's an incredible honor. Maison Laurent represents everything I've aspired to in my career. The words tasted rehearsed because they were. Every syllable had been carefully crafted, approved by her publicist, and ultimately vetted by her mother. Victoria Harrison didn't leave room for spontaneity, especially not when the Harrison name was attached. As the press conference concluded, Chloe felt the familiar weight of her mother's gaze before she even turned around. Victoria stood near the entrance, impeccable in a steel gray suit that matched her demeanor, sharp, cold, and impossibly elegant. At 52, she commanded attention without effort, her empire of luxury real estate developments spanning 3 continents. She'd built it all from nothing, a fact she never let Chloe forget. "Well done," Victoria said, as Chloe approached, though she was merely acknowledging satisfactory performance rather than celebrating triumph. "Though you hesitated on the question about future projects, hesitation reads as uncertainty." "I was choosing my words carefully, Mother." Careful and uncertain look identical to cameras. Victoria's ice-blue eyes swept over her daughter with the same assessing gaze she used when evaluating properties. "The Vanderbilt Charity Gala is Friday. I've had Simone select 3 options for your dress. We'll review them tomorrow." "Actually, I was thinking of skipping this one." "Nonsense! Senator Matthews will be there, and his wife chairs the board at—" "I know, Mother. I just thought—" "That's your problem, Chloe. You think too much about what you want instead of what serves the family." Victoria's phone chimed, and she glanced at it dismissively. "I have a meeting. Wear the Cartier diamonds Friday, not the Van Cleef. And for heaven's sakes, do something about those circles under your eyes. You look exhausted." With that, she swept away, leaving Chloe standing alone in the lobby that suddenly felt cavernous despite the lingering crowd. This was her victory, her moment, and somehow it had already turned to ash in her mouth. That evening, Chloe escaped to the one place in Manhattan where she could breathe, a small, independent bookstore in the West Village tucked between a coffee shop and a vintage record store. It was decidedly unglamorous, the kind of place Victoria would never be caught dead in, which made it perfect. She was browsing the fiction section, her face partially hidden behind oversized sunglasses and a cashmere scarf, when someone reached for the same book she did. "Sorry, The man pulled back, then paused, recognition flickering across his features. But instead of the usual starstruck reaction she'd grown accustomed to, he simply smiled. "Great taste. Fitzgerald's underrated." Chloe found herself looking into warm hazel eyes that held intelligence and something else, genuine interest rather than calculation. He was handsome in an understated way, wearing a simple navy sweater and jeans, dark hair slightly tousled as if he'd been running his hands through it while reading. "You can have it," she said, surprised by how normal her voice sounded. "I've actually read it before." "So have I, 3 times. He grinned and she noticed the way it reached his eyes. "I'm Liam, by the way. And before this gets awkward, yes, I recognize you, but I promise I'm not going to ask for a selfie or tell you about my cousin who wants to be a model." Despite herself, Chloe laughed. A real laugh, not the practiced trill she used at events. "That's refreshing. You're Chloe Harrison, face of Maison Laurent as of approximately," he checked his watch with exaggerated precision, "6 hours ago. Congratulations, by the way. That's a big deal."
You follow fashion? God, no. I follow business. Your mother is Victoria Harrison, right? I'm in tech. Just sold my second startup. Your mother almost bought the building we were headquartered in. Almost. She's formidable. That's one word for it. The bitterness slipped out before Chloe could catch it. Liam's expression shifted, softening with understanding. Complicated relationship with successful parents. I get it. My father expected me to take over his hedge fund. Instead, I built apps. He held up the Fitzgerald novel. How about this? You let me buy you coffee, and we can discuss why Gatsby's really the villain of his own story. Chloe knew she should say no. She had a strict schedule. Workout at 6 a.m., meeting with her agent at 9, photo shoot at noon. There was no room for spontaneous coffee with charming strangers, especially not ones who made her feel seen rather than simply looked at. I'd like that, she heard herself say. As they walked to the coffee shop next door, Chloe felt something unfamiliar, the lightness of being just Chloe, not Victoria Harrison's daughter, not the face of a luxury brand. Just a woman having coffee with an interesting man who quoted Fitzgerald and didn't seem to want anything from her except conversation. She didn't know it yet, but in that moment, everything was about to change.
The forbidden connection. 3 weeks passed like a dream Chloe was afraid to wake from. Between photo shoots and runway fittings, she found herself stealing moments with Liam. Coffee in hidden cafes, walks through Central Park at dusk, late-night conversations that stretched until dawn broke over the city skyline. He made her laugh in ways she'd forgotten were possible, challenged her thoughts on art and ambition, and never once made her feel like an ornament to be displayed. "Tell me something real," Liam said one evening as they sat on his apartment balcony, the Manhattan lights glittering below them like fallen stars. He'd cooked dinner, nothing fancy, just pasta and wine, and Chloe had never felt more at home. "Real?" She swirled her wine glass, watching the liquid catch the candlelight. "Something no one else knows, something that's just yours." Chloe was quiet for a long moment. "I wanted to be a photographer," she finally admitted. "When I was 16, I saved up and bought this vintage Leica camera. I used to take pictures of everything. Street corners, strangers, shadows. I thought maybe I could capture beauty instead of just representing it." "Why didn't you?" "My mother found my portfolio. She said it was a quaint hobby, but that I had a face that could open doors, and I'd be a fool to waste it behind a camera." Chloe's voice hardened. "She enrolled me in modeling classes the next week. The camera disappeared. I never asked where it went." Liam reached across the table, his fingers intertwining with hers. "That's not a hobby, Chloe. That's a dream. And dreams don't disappear just because someone hides them." She wanted to believe him. God, how she wanted to believe him. Their relationship deepened with an intensity that both thrilled and terrified her. Liam was patient but persistent, peeling back the layers of protection she'd built around her heart. He took her to underground art galleries where no one knew her name, taught her to code simple programs just for fun, and listened, really listened, when she talked about the suffocating weight of her mother's expectations. "Leave," he said one night as they lay tangled in his sheets, her head resting on his chest. "You're 24, Chloe. You don't need her permission to live your own life." "You don't understand. My mother isn't just controlling, she's strategic. She has connections everywhere. If I defy her, she'll make sure every door in this industry closes. Then we'll find new doors, build new ones if we have to." He tilted her chin up, his eyes fierce with conviction. "I'm not saying it'll be easy, but you're stronger than you think. And you're not alone anymore." Those words wrapped around her heart like armor. For the first time in her life, Chloe began to imagine a future that wasn't scripted by Victoria Harrison. But secrets, in their world, never stayed buried for long. It started with a text from her mother. "Lunch, Le Bernardin, tomorrow, 1 p.m. Don't be late." Chloe arrived to find Victoria already seated, a glass of white wine before her,
posture perfect as always. The restaurant hummed with the quiet conversations of Manhattan's elite, the kind of place where deals were made and reputations destroyed between courses. "You've been distant," Victoria said without preamble, as Chloe sat down. "I've been busy. The Maison Laurent campaign is demanding." "Yes, I've seen the photos. Technically flawless, but lacking something." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "You seem distracted, unfocused." "I'm fine, Mother." "Are you?" Victoria set down her wine glass with deliberate precision. "Because I've heard some interesting things. A tech entrepreneur, Liam Bennett, I believe, son of Richard Bennett, hedge fund manager, moderately successful with his little apps, though hardly in our sphere." Chloe's blood ran cold. "Have you been having me followed?" "I protect my investments. You are, after all, still my daughter." Victoria leaned back, her expression unreadable. "He's unsuitable, Chloe. Charming, perhaps, but ultimately irrelevant to your future. You need to end this distraction." "No!" The word came out stronger than she expected. Victoria's eyebrow arched. "Excuse me?" "I said no. For once in my life, I'm happy. Actually happy, not performing happiness for cameras or clients. Liam sees me, the real me, and he doesn't want to change it or use it. He just wants me." "How touching!" Victoria's voice dripped with disdain. "And when this infatuation fades, when you've sacrificed your career, your position, your family connections for a man who built phone applications, what then, Chloe? Then at least I'll have lived my own life instead of the one you designed." The silence that fell between them was glacial. Victoria dabbed her lips with her napkin, her movements controlled, calculated. "I see. You've become defiant, rebellious. How very adolescent. I'm trying to be honest." "Then let me be honest with you." Victoria's voice dropped to a lethal whisper. "You exist in this world because I built the foundation. Every opportunity, every connection, every door that opened for you, I opened it. And what I've built, I can dismantle just as easily." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm reminding you of reality." Victoria stood, smoothing her skirt. "Fortunately, I've already planned for this contingency. We'll discuss it further at the Vanderbilt Gala Friday." "And Chloe?" She leaned down, her voice ice against her ear. "End it with Mr. Bennett or I will. And my methods are far less kind than yours would be." She left Chloe sitting alone at the table, the weight of impending doom settling over her shoulders like a shroud. That night, Chloe lay in Liam's arms, memorizing the sound of his heartbeat, the warmth of his skin, the safety she felt in his presence. She wanted to tell him about her mother's threats, wanted to warn him that Victoria Harrison didn't make idle promises. But the words stuck in her throat, bitter and choking. "What's wrong?" he murmured, sensing her tension. "Nothing. Just hold me." He did, tightening his arms around her as if he could protect her from the storm gathering on the horizon. And Chloe let herself believe, just for one more night, that love could be enough to weather what was coming. She should have known better. In Victoria Harrison's world, love was never enough. It was barely even relevant.
The public execution. The Vanderbilt Gala was Manhattan's social event of the season, a glittering spectacle of old money and new power, held in the Metropolitan Museum's Temple of Dendur. Chloe arrived in a stunning white gown, diamonds at her throat, playing the part of the perfect daughter one more time. She'd spent the past 3 days avoiding her mother's calls, clinging to Liam like a lifeline, trying to formulate a plan that didn't end in complete devastation. Liam had wanted to come with her, but she'd refused. "Not this one," she'd said. "Trust me, it's better if we keep you away from my mother's orbit for now." The lie tasted bitter, but she told it anyway. The truth was, She was terrified of what Victoria might do if Liam appeared on her arm at such a public event. The museum glowed with amber light, and waiters circulated with champagne and canapes. Chloe moved through the crowd with practiced grace, accepting congratulations on her Maison Laurent campaign, posing for photos, laughing at jokes that weren't funny. She was scanning the room for her mother when she felt a hand on her elbow. "There you are." Victoria appeared like a specter in midnight blue, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Come with me. There's someone you need to meet." Warning bells clanged in Chloe's mind, but refusing would cause a scene. She followed her mother through the crowd to a quieter corner where a man stood examining an ancient Egyptian artifact. He was perhaps 40, handsome in a cold, aristocratic way, with silver threading through his dark hair and eyes that assessed everything with calculating precision. "Chloe, this is Alessandro Moretti," Victoria said smoothly. "Alessandro, my daughter, Chloe." "A pleasure." His accent was refined, European. "Italian," Chloe guessed. He took her hand and kissed it, his lips cool against her skin. "Your mother has told me so much about you, though she undersold your beauty." "Alessandro owns the Moretti Group," Victoria continued. "Luxury hotels, resorts, casinos across Europe. We've been discussing a merger. His properties with my developments. It would create the largest luxury empire in the Western world." Something about the way Victoria said merger made Chloe's stomach clench. "That sounds ambitious. Your mother thinks on a grand scale. It's one of the things I admire about her." Alessandro's gaze never left Chloe's face. "Among other things, she tells me you're quite accomplished yourself. A model, yes? The face of Maison Laurent." "Yes, Alessandro and I have been in negotiations for months," Victoria interrupted, her voice carrying a strange, triumphant edge. "And we've reached an agreement that benefits both our families tremendously." The word families echoed in Chloe's ears like a death knell. "In fact," Victoria continued, her smile widening, "I think now is the perfect time to make the announcement." Before Chloe could process what was happening, Victoria had signaled to someone, the ambient music dimmed, and a spotlight illuminated their corner of the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," Victoria's voice rang out, amplified somehow, commanding instant attention. The crowd turned, hundreds of faces focusing on them. "Thank you all for coming tonight. I have some wonderful news to share, both personal and professional." "No. God, no." Chloe's heart hammered against her ribs. "As many of you know, I've built Harrison Developments from the ground up, creating landmarks across the globe. Tonight, I'm thrilled to announce a historic partnership with the Moretti Group, combining our strength to redefine luxury hospitality and real estate." Applause rippled through the crowd. Alessandro inclined his head graciously. "But business is only half the story," Victoria continued, and Chloe felt the trap snap shut around her. "The best partnerships are built on more than contracts. They're built on family, which is why I'm delighted to announce the engagement of my daughter Chloe to Alessandro Moretti." The room erupted. Cameras flashed, gasps and excited murmurs filled the air. Chloe stood frozen, her vision tunneling, as Alessandro smoothly took her hand, slipping a ring onto her finger, a massive diamond that felt like a shackle. "Smile, darling," Victoria hissed under her breath, her own smile never faltering. "You're happy. You're surprised. You're in love." But Chloe couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The faces around her blurred into a nightmare kaleidoscope of congratulations and envy. Someone thrust a microphone toward her. "Miss Harrison, how does it feel? Did you have any idea?" Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Alessandro, sensing her paralysis, smoothly intervened. "She's overwhelmed, as you can imagine. It's been a whirlwind romance, very private. We wanted to keep it between us until we were certain." His arm slid around her waist, possessive and foreign.
But when you know, you know. Isn't that right, Amores? The endearment made her skin crawl. She finally found her voice, though it sounded hollow even to her own ears. Yes, overwhelmed. The crowd laughed, charmed. Someone started a toast. Victoria beamed like a proud mother instead of the architect of Chloe's destruction. And through it all, Chloe's mind screamed a single word, Liam. The rest of the evening passed in a fog. Chloe smiled until her face ached, accepted congratulations from people she barely knew, and played the role of ecstatic bride-to-be while her world crumbled around her. Alessandro never left her side. His touch is gentle but constant, a reminder of the cage her mother had built. When she finally escaped to the bathroom, she locked herself in a stall and pulled out her phone with shaking hands. 23 missed calls from Liam, dozens of texts. Is this real? Chloe, please tell me this is some kind of mistake. I'm seeing pictures everywhere. Tell me it's not true. Chloe, I love you. Whatever this is, we can figure it out. Just talk to me. The last message had come 10 minutes ago. I'm outside the museum, please. She wanted to run to him, wanted to explain, wanted to feel his arms around her and hear him tell her they'd find a way out of this. But before she could move, the bathroom door opened and Victoria's voice cut through her panic like a blade. Chloe, come out. We both know you're in here. Slowly, Chloe emerged from the stall. Her mother stood before the mirrors, reapplying lipstick with steady hands. That was quite a performance, Victoria said calmly. A bit wooden at first, but you recovered. The media will eat it up. The modeling world's golden girl, marrying European royalty, essentially. How could you? Chloe's voice shook with rage and betrayal. I did this for you. Alessandro is wealthy, powerful, and connected. This marriage secures your future, the company's future, and solidifies our position in the global market. It's perfect. I don't love him. Love. Victoria laughed, the sound brittle and cold. Love is a luxury people in our position can't afford. You think your father and I married for love? We married for strategy, for power, for legacy. And look what we built. You built an empire. You also built a loveless marriage that ended in divorce, and years of my childhood spent watching you tear each other apart. Victoria's expression hardened, and despite that, you have wanted for nothing. You've had every advantage, every opportunity. This is how you repay that, with gratitude and obedience. I'm not your puppet. No, you're my daughter. And you will honor this arrangement or I will destroy everything that matters to you. Victoria stepped closer, her voice dropping to a lethal whisper. Your modeling career? I'll make one phone call and you'll never work again. Your friends? They're loyal to power, not to you. And Liam? She smiled, cruel and knowing. I've already made inquiries. His company's investors are very interested in my real estate portfolio. One word from me and he loses everything he's built. Is that what you want? To ruin him because of your selfish need for true love? Chloe felt the last of her resistance crumble. You're a monster. I'm a survivor, and I raised you to be one too, though you seem determined to forget that. Victoria moved toward the door, pausing to glance back. Alessandro was waiting. Smile for the cameras, Chloe. And for God's sakes, text Mr. Bennett and end it, cleanly, tonight. If you care about him at all, you'll spare him the harder lesson I'm prepared to teach. When Victoria left, Chloe sank to the floor, the diamond engagement ring weighing on her finger like a tombstone. Outside, Liam was waiting. Inside, her mother had already won. And Chloe, for all her beauty and success, had never felt more powerless in her life.
Breaking point. The days following the gala were a special kind of hell. Chloe's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Interview requests, congratulations from designers, magazine covers wanting to feature fashion's newest power couple. Alessandro sent flowers daily, each bouquet more extravagant than the last. each one a reminder of the prison she'd been locked into. She texted Liam that night, her fingers trembling so badly she could barely type, "I'm sorry, it's over. Please don't contact me again." Then she'd blocked his number before she could see his response, before she could break and run to him. But she couldn't block him from her heart. Her modeling suffered. During a crucial Vogue shoot, the photographer called for a break after the 10th failed attempt to capture the right expression. "You're not present, Chloe. Your eyes are dead." Dead. That's exactly how she felt. Victoria scheduled wedding planning meetings, dress fittings, venue selections, guest lists. Alessandro flew in every weekend, playing the attentive fiancé, though Chloe noticed how his eyes lingered on other women, how his phone calls in Italian always ended when she entered the room. This wasn't love for him either. It was strategy, just like her mother said. 2 weeks after the gala, Chloe stood in a bridal boutique, staring at her reflection in a wedding gown that cost more than most people's houses. The woman in the mirror was a stranger, perfectly styled, impeccably dressed, and utterly hollow. "Bellissima," Alessandro said from behind her, but his tone was perfunctory. "The wedding is in 6 weeks. My family is very excited." 6 weeks. 42 days until her life ended. That night, Chloe did something she hadn't done since she was 16. She picked up a camera. Not her phone, but an old Canon she'd bought secretly months ago. She walked through the city streets, photographing shadows and strangers, searching for something real in a life that had become entirely staged. She didn't mean to end up outside Liam's apartment building, but there she was, staring up at his window, the light on, his silhouette visible against the curtains. Her finger hovered over the intercom button. Before she could decide, the building door opened and Liam stepped out. He froze when he saw her. "Chloe!" God, just hearing her name and his voice made her chest ache. He looked terrible, exhausted, hollowed out. The light in his eyes dimmed. She'd done that to him. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have come." "Then why did you come?" His voice was raw. "Do you have any idea what these past 2 weeks have been like? That text? That cowardly, cold text after everything we shared? I had to. My mother." "Your mother doesn't own you, Chloe. Or does she? Is this what you really want? To marry some stranger for business? To spend your life as a trophy? Of course it's not what I want." Tears streamed down her face. "But if I don't, she'll destroy you. Your company, your investors. She has the power to take everything." Liam stepped closer, his hands gripping her shoulders, his voice dropping to a desperate whisper. "I don't care about the company. I care about you. We can rebuild, start over, go somewhere she can't reach us." "There is nowhere she can't reach," Chloe's voice broke. "You don't understand the kind of woman she is. She doesn't make threats, she makes promises, and she always follows through." "So what? You're just going to marry him? Spend your life miserable and controlled?" "I'm trying to protect you." "I don't want your protection. I want you." Liam's forehead pressed against hers, his voice dropping to a desperate whisper. "Fight with me, Chloe. Fight for us. We can win this." For a moment, standing in his arms, she believed him. For a moment, she remembered what hope felt like. Then her phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "I see you're visiting Mr. Bennett. Disappointing. His investors' meeting is tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'd hate for it to go badly." The threat was clear. Chloe pulled away from Liam, her decision crystallizing through the pain. "I can't," she said. "I'm sorry, Liam. I love you, but I can't." She turned and ran, his voice calling after her, breaking with each syllable of her name. She didn't look back. She couldn't. That night, she stood on her penthouse balcony, 40 stories above the city, and wondered what freedom would feel like. The engagement ring caught the city lights, throwing prismatic shadows across her hands. She thought about taking it off, throwing it into the darkness below, watching it fall. But she didn't, because tomorrow there was another dress fitting, another interview about her fairy tale romance, another day of dying inside while everyone around her celebrated. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Chloe Harrison?" A woman's voice, professional but warm. "Yes?"
My name is Margaret Chen. I'm a family attorney. I was contacted by Liam Bennett regarding your situation. I know what your mother is doing, and I want you to know it's not as hopeless as she's made it believe. If you're willing to fight, there are ways to break free, but you have to be brave enough to take the first step. Chloe's hand tightened on the phone. What kind of ways? She said. Legal ones. Financial independence strategies. Protection orders if needed. Your mother's power isn't absolute, Chloe. It just feels that way because you're inside her world. Step outside it, and you'll see how much of it is smoke and mirrors. And if I fight and lose, if she destroys everything, then you'll rebuild. But at least you'll rebuild as yourself, not as someone else's puppet. Margaret paused. Liam is waiting for your answer. He wants you to know he's not giving up on you, even if you've given up on yourself. After Margaret hung up, Chloe stood motionless, the city sprawling beneath her, infinite and indifferent. Somewhere out there, Liam was waiting. Somewhere out there was a life that she could claim as her own. The question was whether she had the courage to reach for it.
The final walk. The Autumn Fashion Gala arrived like an execution date. It was supposed to be Chloe's coronation, the finale of Fashion Week, where she'd close the show from Maison Laurent in their most expensive piece, a hand-beaded gown worth $500,000. Victoria had orchestrated every detail, ensuring Alessandro would be in the front row, the press primed for photos of the golden couple. Backstage was chaos. Models, makeup artists, designers running on adrenaline and espresso. Chloe sat in front of her mirror, being transformed into perfection, one brushstroke at a time. She looked at her reflection and barely recognized the woman staring back. Her phone was locked in her bag, per Victoria's orders. No distractions. But she'd memorized Margaret's words. Turn them over in her mind like stones. Step outside her world and you'll see how much of it is smoke and mirrors. 5 minutes, Chloe, the stage manager called. Victoria swept in, magnificent in crimson, Alessandro trailing behind her. There's my beautiful daughter. Ready for your moment? I suppose. Chloe stood, the gown's weight familiar now, expected. After the show, we're announcing the wedding date. June, cathedral ceremony, reception at the plaza. I've already contacted Vogue for exclusive coverage. June, 3 months away, 90 days until the cage locked forever. Alessandro kissed her cheek, cold and passionless. I look stunning, amore. I'll be watching. They left, and Chloe was alone with her thoughts and her racing heart. She touched the camera she'd hidden in her bag, the Canon she'd been using to reclaim small pieces of herself. Inside was a memory card full of photos, real moments, honest emotions, the world as she saw it, not as it was staged. Chloe Harrison, you're up. She walked toward the stage entrance, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Through the curtain, she could hear the music, the excited murmurs of the crowd. This was supposed to be her triumph, the culmination of everything she'd worked for. But all she felt was empty. She stood in position, waiting for her cue. The lights would hit, the music would swell, and she'd walk that runway one final time as Victoria Harrison's perfect, obedient daughter. Then she saw him. Liam stood at the back of the venue, partially hidden behind a column. He shouldn't have been there. This was an exclusive event, invitation only. But somehow he'd found a way. Their eyes met across the distance, and in his gaze, she saw everything. Love, hope, belief in her strength, even when she didn't believe in herself. The music swelled. Her cue. Chloe took a breath and made her choice. Instead of walking onto the runway, she turned around. Gasps erupted from the crew. Chloe, what are you doing? She walked past them, past the racks of designer clothes, past the shocked expressions. Someone grabbed her arm. A producer, panicked. You can't just leave. The show is over, Chloe said firmly. At least for me. She grabbed her bag, her camera, and kept walking. Behind her, chaos erupted. She could hear Victoria's voice, sharp with fury, demanding to know where her daughter was. She could hear Alessandra's confusion, the stage manager's panic. But she didn't stop. She pushed through the backstage exit, into the cool night air, still wearing the $500,000 gown, and ran. The beating caught the streetlights as she sprinted toward where Liam stood, his expression transforming from shock to joy. "You came," she breathed as she reached him. "I'll always come for you." "Are you sure? Because once you walk away..." "I'm sure. I'm terrified and unsure about everything else, but I'm sure about you, about us, about choosing my own life." Behind them, the venue doors burst open. Victoria stood there, backlit and furious, Alessandro beside her, looking more annoyed than heartbroken. "Chloe Harrison, you get back here this instant!" Chloe turned, looking at her mother, really looking at her. She saw the anger, the need for control, but also something else. Fear. Fear of losing the daughter she tried so hard to mold. Fear that her carefully constructed world was crumbling. "No, Mother, I'm done being your project, your asset, your puppet." Chloe slipped the engagement ring off her finger and held it out. "I don't want your empire. I don't want Alessandro. I don't want any of it if it means losing myself." "You ungrateful, after everything I've given you." "You gave me things, Mother, not love, not freedom, not the chance to discover who I am beneath all this." She gestured to the gown, the image, the life she was shedding. "I'm grateful for the opportunities, but I'm done paying them with my soul." Victoria's face contorted with rage and something that might have been pain. "If you walk away now, you're cut off. No money, no connections, no career. You'll have nothing." "She'll have me," Liam said, stepping beside Chloe, his hand finding hers, "and herself. That's more than nothing." For a long moment, Victoria stared at her daughter. Then her expression hardened into something cold and final. "Then you're no longer my daughter. Don't come crawling back when reality hits." The words should have hurt more than they did, but Chloe felt strangely light, as if chains she didn't know she was wearing had finally fallen away. "Goodbye, Mother." She turned, still in her runway gown, and walked away with Liam. Behind them, she heard Alessandro mutter something in Italian, heard Victoria's sharp commands to someone about damage control. But it all faded as they turned the corner, leaving that world behind. "Where do we go now?" Chloe asked, suddenly aware she had no plan, no safety net. Liam smiled, pulling her close. "Anywhere you want. Everywhere. We'll figure it out together." 3 months later, Chloe sat in a small gallery in Brooklyn, her photographs displayed on white walls. They weren't perfect or polished. They were raw, honest, human. Images of the city, of strangers' stories told through shadow and light, of the journey from captivity to freedom. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I saw your exhibition announcement. The photos are remarkable. Perhaps you found your calling after all. .v." It wasn't an apology. Victoria didn't do apologies. But it was something. Acknowledgement. Maybe even a sliver of respect. Chloe didn't respond. She simply slipped her phone away and leaned into Liam, watching people engage with her art, her truth, her voice finally heard. "Any regrets?" Liam murmured. Chloe thought about the penthouse she'd left behind, the career she'd walked away from, the mother who had chosen power over love. She thought about the uncertainty ahead, the struggles they'd face, the work of building something real from nothing. "Not a single one," she said and meant it. The runway had been beautiful, but this messy, uncertain, authentically chosen life was real. And real, she had learned, was worth more than all the diamonds in the world.